Minister, a couple of weeks ago we had the Powerful One campaign highlighting homelessness among former servicemen and women. I acknowledge that following a question from Deputy Brendan Howland, the Minister has agreed to meet representatives of the Defence Forces to discuss their concerns. I would be interested in hearing if this meeting has yet taken place, as it is a source of national shame that our veterans, who know better than most the power of our national flag, have to resort to sleeping on the streets of Dublin in green, white and orange sleeping bags to highlight their plight. Thank you, Deputy.
Minister. The question I have for you here is on pay.
And yes, that's an opener and a lead-in.
As part of Budget 2019, the Government has provided a funding envelope for the Defence Forces of 1.007 million to increase of 60 million, or 6.4% over 2018. This emphasises the importance attached by the Government to ensuring that the Defence Forces have the resources necessary to deliver on all roles assigned by Government, both at home and overseas. The 2019 provision comprises of 758 million for Vote 36 Defence, and an increase of over 50 million, and 249 million euros for Vote 35 Army Pensions, an increase of 10 million euros. Overall, approximately 77% of the defence sector provision relates to pay and pensions. The 2019 provision for pay for Vote 36 is some 529 million euros. And this provides for pay and allowances of over 10,400 public service employees, including 9,500 permanent Defence Forces personnel, 550 civilian employees and 355 civil servants. The Government has ensured that full funding has been provided for 2019, and for the target strength of the permanent Defence Forces 9,500. Pay has been restored to members of the Defence Forces and other public servants in accordance with public sector pay agreements. The focus of these increases is weighed in favour of those in the lower pay. Following on from increases paid under the Lansdowne Road Agreement, further increases were paid in 2018 under the Public Service Stability Agreement 2018-2020, with additional increases due in 2019. The allocation includes 6.3 million to meet the additional commitments for 2019. Further increases in pay are scheduled for 2020. In accordance with the provisions of the Public Service Stability Agreement 2018-2020, the Government has tasked the Government Service Pay Commission with conducting a more comprehensive examination of the recruitment and retention challenges in the Defence Force sector. The work of the Commission is ongoing. The Government will give due consideration to the findings of the recommendations arising from the work of the Commission. The non-pay allocation, including capital of 2019 of Vote 36, is 229 million, and this provides for the essential and ongoing Defence Forces standing and operational costs, as well as the provision of essential procurement and upgrading of defensive equipment and infrastructure.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Ryan, please.
I mentioned the One campaign, Minister, because it was a powerful statement which in its blunt starkness highlighted how much on the periphery our Defence Forces veterans and our current servicemen feel. As I previously raised, the wages of our Defence Forces personnel is far below what it should be, with some members being paid close to minimum wage for work that is deserving of much more. Work that requires great discipline and sacrifice, both from the personnel themselves and their loved ones. I brought this issue up multiple times, and I will continue to bring it up until the members of the Defence Forces are given the respect they deserve, which is most indicated by how much they are paid and their conditions of employment. The increased funding allocated for the last 2 years went towards ICT, military hardware and equipment upgrades in a lot of ways. But these are very important and needed, but the real funding that is needed is in the area of pay and wages. Minister, there is not enough being done. There isn't even light at the end of the tunnel for our Defence Forces, and that's what they've displayed in recent campaigns.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
Deputy, I would differ with you when you say there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and I do believe that Government is addressing the issue of pay. I have stated on the public record, both publicly and privately, in barracks and in here in this House. Yes, pay is a challenge for the Defence Force, and that's why the Government is addressing this issue. Deputy, you have been in this House for quite a number of years. You've been in the Government from 2011 to 2016. You've seen the challenges and the in around public service pay. But let me state, Deputy, what I don't want to go out is that Defence Forces members are on very little. And like what I say, this is the average gross earnings in 2018. Enlisted personnel, 3-star private, and this is gross earnings, is 37,529, a corporal 41,076, sergeant 44,622, a CQMS 49,605, company sergeant 50,224, BQMS 53,616, a sergeant major 54,878. In the officer corps, a second lieutenant 37,108, lieutenant 42,291, a captain 53,138, commandant 66,496, lieutenant colonel 79,162, and a colonel 88,480. And if you give me leniency, Chair, just for 1 minute, the starting salary of a 3-star private, if they were to start tomorrow morning, is €27,759. €76, and the starting salary of a cadet, a newly commissioned officer, which was commissioned recently, a school leaver, is on 35,614, and a graduate lieutenant is on a starting salary of 40,566. I understand that maybe the starting salary, but there are challenges as they grow into the organisation. That is why there is this Public Service Pay Commission, independent commission set up, as I outlined to the Deputy Chambers earlier, and that we are addressing this issue. It is taking time, and I know it is frustrating, but this is a huge job of work to get through.
Deputy Ryan, please.
Thank you, Eric. Look, the armed forces are not taken to the streets lightly, and it's not something they would do lightly. The one campaign highlighted what can happen when our retired defence forces fall off the edge of society. We have let them down. It was announced that Defence Forces veterans are set to hold a national march in Cork on May Day to highlight poor paying conditions endured by serving members of the military. So they're not taking those decisions lightly. It will be the second national march organised by veterans following one last September outside this House. And this doesn't just happen, Minister. Our Defence Forces don't take such action lightly. They are so loyal to our state. They are protectors of our sovereignty. To demonstrate like this is an enormous reaction from a body such as Defence Forces. The way in which the Defence Forces are being paid and treated now is providing the perfect recipe to push more and more of our veterans into abject and total poverty. The legacy of this government should not be a Defence Forces left behind, demoralised, poor and falling off the edge. And I acknowledge the Minister's response in terms of his hopes to address this. But, you know, we're now at a point where there is money available, which may not have been available in the past. And I think we have to address the cause of the workers, the low pay, they're on family income supplement, they're finding it difficult to pay for accommodation. There are issues there for our national defence forces that we have to address and take seriously. And I believe you are making efforts, but it has to be accelerated.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, please.
Deputy, I'd just like to address the issue of the family income payment. There is less than 1% of the organisation on family income working payment, and that includes members of the Department of Defence as well. I want to put that out very clearly, because if all these other... Yeah, no, but Deputy, the working family payment is there for a reason. Like if you take a 3-star private coming in, he mightn't have any kids, he could have 3 kids. And that working family payment is there for a reason. And look, Deputy, I think I want to be very honest with you. You understand the reason why the working family payment is there. It is to subsidise families with specific needs. On the one campaign that you spoke to, I meet the veteran organisations, both ONE and IUMVA. I have increased the ONE funding by 108% this year. 108% I have increased that funding by this year. Their campaign was to highlight what the provisions that they provide for people, for ex-members of the Defence Forces who fall upon hard times, and they do an absolute fantastic job on that. They are out there helping and assisting people, and my department and the Defence Forces are out there also willing and wanting to help the ONE campaign. And just, Deputy, on the Veterans March that you spoke about, not all veteran organisations and associations have participated in such protests.